when you walk in these doors, you can be who you want to be. It's freedom. You don't need to look at somebody next to you and worry about what they think about you. You don't have to worry about if you either fit in or you don't. That's why our classes here is for everyone.
Emilio, the honey badger, Urrutia!
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Honey Badger Hour. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Honey Badger Hour podcast. It's your boy, the Badger, and we are back. And this week, we are live from the House of Champions. You already know it, at the official boxer headquarters. We got a big one today. Today, we get to speak to man who wears many hats. CEO, okay, entrepreneur, boxer, overall athlete, badass, the big boss, Mateo Attalla.
What's up,
Welcome,
brother?
my brother.
My brother,
Yes,
appreciate you.
This is a long time coming. Thank you for taking the time to come on the Honey Badger Hour podcast.
Thank
brother.
you, bro.
Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
you having me here, and it's been a little crazy lately, but I'm all open to being here for my coaches, for my people, and making sure we spread some good words today.
Oh, 100%. I was telling Daniel, I'm like, man, I get stressed even bothering you because I could see the level here is just like, I can only imagine how busy you are all the time working, So
Yeah, man.
to take the time for us, we really appreciate it, man. This is great.
I appreciate it. Thanks, bro.
So the energy, unmatched in the gym. We got the champ here right now. I just saw you were just getting the champ ready right now, holding pads for David Benavidez.
That's right, bro.
How did this connection happen with boxer and David Benavidez?
Bro, it's been a big build-up of just having great relationships. Throughout the years of building boxer, I've been able to establish some very powerful relationships inside and outside the game of boxing. I talk about relationships a lot only because in order to get somewhere and in order to build something, by having the right relationship and network system, is going to help you to get you to where you really need to get to, and it's how you build off them. So coming from the boxing game and building those relationships within boxing, it led to his father actually reaching out to me. Big shout out to Senior, and then also Jason, my brother, the coach here at the boxer headquarters. It's just a full circle. The boxing community is actually very small. We actually all know each other. And I guess it's the same thing in the MMA community as well. So it's just based off really having those good, strong relationships and having that good rapport and having a good reputation. That's what led David to come here. And there's more to the story as well. We actually go way back. Me and David only discovered a couple of weeks ago at dinner that we used to train together at the age of 13 and 14 in the same gym. That nobody even knew about. But he was originally just coming here to check out the gym to see if, it would be a good place to train whatsoever. But, he loves Miami, and he's made Miami his new home. He's made boxer his new home to do his training camp here. We have a solid team. Got Senior, got his cousin, Jason, myself, Earl. We got a great crew getting ready for a big fight that's happening in 13 weeks. He's gonna be going up to the light heavyweight division, fighting for a title. And that will lead to the winner of whoever, whether it's Bival and what's his name again?
So I was like two Russian guys, right? It's like two Ukrainian.
His name
Russian
just
names.
doesn't get some. Yeah, I can't remember. But anyway, what is it? Benavidez. What is it, Benavidez?
Arthur Benavidez.
Arthur
Ben-
Benavidez.
It's like the Russian Benavidez.
Yes. So between those two, the winner out of those two will probably fight David. And then obviously he's trying to get that Canelo fight.
I saw that. So that'll be like for the undisputed, right? If he wins this next one, then he'll fight the other champs. The
That's
champ
correct.
Does too.
Yeah.
Wow. Where's that fight gonna be at?
Hopefully, it was going to be in Vegas. Then they moved it to Houston. And then I put a word into David's ear and I said, bro, let's bring this thing to Miami, bro.
Bro, all day.
Come on.
This UFC is gonna set the precedent that Miami is the city for fights, man.
That's correct, bro.
Right?
Ever since they brought the UFC to Miami, it's been a winner. And I think, the city of Miami deserves to have big fights, bro, from MMA and from boxing, and good shows. UFC is putting on a hell of a show, bro. Like, even though I'm coming from the boxing world, I put my hat off to Dana and the UFC for putting on these shows because it's terrific, bro. And for me, I don't want to let it out of the bag yet, but we are working towards something of where we could bring really good promotions and boxing fights to the city of Miami. the heart of Miami needs it for how it's transforming, you know?
100%, and especially with the boxing heritage here, like with all the Cuban boxers that they already have, it's like it's kind of instilled in the system here. But it's kind of crazy that there is no big promotions that are based out of Miami.
No, they're doing it, but they're not doing it in the downtown heart of Miami. They're doing it in Fort Lauderdale. They're doing it in the Hard Rock, which is great. But we want it in the heart of the 305, you know?
Yeah, that's what the UFC is really showing that, like, and that's what's amazing about Boxer being here. And we also needed an MMA home base now, and MMA gym, which now Boxers turned into kind of like in the after leashes, I guess, you know, like from the boxing turned into the MMA now,
100%,
which has been growing really good, man. So it's like,
bro,
sorry, go ahead.
No, so, you know, like, talking about the MMA being instilled into the Boxer headquarters, you know, we're super grateful to have you, John Calderon, War Corey. You boys have put a tremendous job putting a great program upstairs, attracting the right people. And I think, you know, when it really comes down to it, it's about having the community really involved. And you know, other sports can really get along with each other. Boxing and MMA can get along with each other. They've made this thing up that, you know, nah, the MMA side is better than the boxing side, or the boxing side is better than the MMA side. Nah, man, you could learn from both sports. They're both respectful combat sports. And by me implanting that into this hub, into the Boxer headquarters, is just, bro, it's beautiful to see because both sides are actually, they're complementing each other in some sort of aspect. Having world champions from boxing walking in one day, and then having UFC world champions walk in another day, it's beautiful to see, you know?
No, 100%. The energy is unmatched here. Like, that's one of the, since I started working here, that, like, man, you feel it as soon as you walk in, you know? And then I see, like, you got the signs, you know, like, follow your dreams, like, follow your dreams, you know? They know the way. And I'm just like, I could see it, you know? Like, and I feel it in here. And it's so true, right? With, like, the mixed martial arts, there's no reason for them to be, because, like, you know, one of the things that I've always needed and wanted in my career is, like, a good boxing coach, you know? And now I'm surrounded by all the best in the country and the world right now. So, like, it's amazing how that worked out. And then for me, coming from MMA, it's so good that I'm able to, like, get my hands going, work the transitioning, you know, and get in the ring and put the boxing shoes on and learn the sweet science, because it goes deep. That's the thing about boxing, right? With the two hands, man, it's a whole nother world out there.
It really does, man. Like, you know, people don't realize when you really go into depth into the boxing side of things, it's very, very calculated. It's a science. It's a craft. It's something that, you know, the craft of its true essence has been lost to some sort of extent. You don't see the same boxing that you saw 15 years ago. You know, when you see your Trinidad fighting, you know, De La Hoya or Mosley or Vargas, you know, these fights were epic fights. And if you go back even more, you know, you look at the sport and you're like, damn, this is real boxing. It's changed now. Generationally, it has changed and it's become a little bit more sophisticated in the ring. As an overall, we're talking about the political side, the boxing side, the craft. You know, you just see how it's just completely shifted. But there's a chance where it can be saved.
It kind of needs it right now, but with the door is wide open for sure.
It's wide open, and it's an opportunity for some good people to come together to explode it. And I think the best way to do it is do it in a city that it's exploding. You got to go to the place where it's all happening. Miami is that city right now in the United States of America. This is where it's at, bro. When the UFC comes for the second time around, and it was electrifying, and then you see buildings coming up, and you see more and more people coming to the gym or coming to the city, it's like, it's a no-brainer. This is where you got to be, you know?
Yo, Dana White, boxing needs a Dana White. 100%.
Boxing does need a Dana
Boxing
White.
needs a Dana White. Somebody.
You may be looking at him right now.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, to be continued. You know, I don't want to unleash. You know, I don't want to release nothing too soon. But I feel it, man, because remember back in the day, the old school boxing was like, it was something to really like, man. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Duran. You know, like the Three Kings. Have you seen this documentary? The Three Kings where they all battle each other.
Epic.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen
it's
been a while since we've seen some fights like that, you know. But they're slowly coming back. I feel like
the thing is, you know, like I think what's going on is, you know, people are trying to restrict by putting very good fights on, and you know, ego's coming into play, politics is coming into play. Fine, get it, but at the same time, you got to give the people what they want. You got to put on a show. And back then, they didn't have the resources that we have today to create an amazing show. But what they did was, they cut the ego out, and they put on some really good fights, and they put on a show. Crowds were lit. That's all they needed. And these days, they're just overcomplicating it too much for no reason. And they're not putting the fights that really need to be put on. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's because there's too many promoters. There's too many, there's too many egotistic fighters now. They want it easy. They want to give it to them. It doesn't work like that, And that's why, I hate to say, but UFC is doing such a great job that I really, truly believe that boxing could be just like that, It just comes down to somebody pulling the trigger at the right time. That's it.
No, for sure. And like, you know what I think too with the boxing, the back in the day to nowadays is like the records.
Yeah.
Back then the Sugar Shane, like the Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, De La Hoya, they had losses, but they wouldn't let them affect their career. Where I don't know, since the Money Mayweather era, maybe it's been like you can't lose or you're gonna lose that big fight, which I think that's what happens now, right? The promotions, they're all trying to protect their fighters because they don't want that guy to get that little blemish that just sets him back 2-3 years, or maybe even ever get a big fight.
It's crazy because like those losses actually turn you into great champions, bro. They make you come back even stronger. It embeds in these boys where they go back to the drawing board, they go back to the gym, they work even harder. Why?
The loss.
Because they got to prove themselves. And that's what the sport also needs, and it also represents is that, bro, even with 6 losses, 5 losses, 3 losses, it don't matter. It's about who you are as a person and as a fighter and what you could bring to the fans and to the people.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes, and people resonate with fighters. The more losses you have, the people might love you more because you're more common. You're more of a commoner folk. Like you're one of them. And
that's why there was a Rocky story, bro.
The Rocky story, man. Yes, 100. That's the one thing where Dana White and the UFC is kind of killing it. Where in MMA, you're only as good as your last fight, right? Like look at Israel Adesanya. Like he lost, came back 6 months later, and everybody was counting him off. And his first loss to Pura, came back to Miami, the House of Champions.
Shut it down.
We blessed him with the good energy, and he came down and put him out.
He
Boom!
did.
He was right back on top.
Yeah, man.
Then 3 months later, takes another fight and he boom loses, and look at that, everybody already forgot about him. It's crazy.
It's
how
crazy
fast.
how it works. Something that's so important is people don't realize, but your environment space is so important to a fighter. Your team, is so important to the key aspect of getting that win as well. It's not just you doing it alone. There's so many different factors. And I'm not just talking about boxing. I'm talking about MMA. I'm talking about boxing. I'm talking about combat sports. I'm talking about life in general. I'm talking about your business. It's so important to have a strong core team and a great environment to work out of every single day. If that is all aligned, there is no reason why you can't win unless you're the one that's mentally not prepared to win as the fighter. You're just like a race car driver. I use this analogy a lot. As a race car driver, I need my pit. I need the right team to take off the wheels. I need the right team to, be able to manage certain things. I need the right promoter. I need the right manager. I need the right coach. I need the right engineer. Otherwise, we can get on that track and I could take off by winning from get-go. But when it comes across that finish line, in between that time frame, we got to pull over. I need you to work. I need you to help me get across. And that's what it takes. It takes a really good team in order to make sure that you could finish and win without having an accident, without, something going wrong. So if you use that analogy, you're going to always make sure that you got the right people on side to make sure you get across that finish line.
Yeah, and sometimes you want to make sure you have the right team that wants the best for you and not just for them. Sometimes
100%.
It happens a lot, right? Like you get the coaches or like a manager or something like that, and it kind of makes the fighter lose taste. Like the fighter gets caught in the wrong gym or the wrong environment or management, and they'll lose distaste for the sport a little bit.
1,000%. And sometimes fighters don't want to spend the money in order to better themselves. You know what I mean? Like, if you're lacking in something, and let's say you need this specific coach to get the win, then, bro, you got to utilize your money, put it into that person if you know he's going to get you across the line and to get that win. Not because you like him or, you're comfortable with him. It's not about comfortability. It's about making sure that person is going to bring the best out of you that you need. And that could even be just me talking to you, motivating you in the corner and giving you that extra that you're not getting because you don't like it. But like what Tyson says, you gotta do stuff that you don't like. You do. It's part of the process. A lot of people just want to, jump around, shadow box, do what they enjoy doing, but it's not about that. There's more to the equation on being a world champion and leaving your legacy strong than just hitting a bag every day and just getting easy fights.
Yeah, like just
You know?
sparring, going to training, sparring, doing the mundane training, but not maybe working on the things that maybe you're not good on the right side, working on your right side or something like that.
Exactly.
Working on moving, work on my defense. I'm eating a lot of punches, but instead of, like work on your defense for a whole camp.
This is something I love about, David Benavides, bro. Like my brother, he's open-minded to listening. He wants to know more. He wants information. He goes home, writes notes down about, the fighter that he's going up against, or he writes down different techniques and watches Pernell Whitaker or Oscar De La Hoya, writes it in his notes and shoots it off to me and goes, "What do you think?" That's what it takes to become the best at what you do. Not just rocking up every day and just training, like I said. You have to put in work outside of what you do in the gym in order to be the best. My team does it, on a daily basis. That's why a boxer moves so quick, because we don't think about the hours. Just like there was a post that went up yesterday by Floyd. Floyd was going to the gym at 1 a.m. It was his third day. It was his third workout of the day. And he's like, "Man, I don't want to be sitting at home watching movies. I could be watching movies and eating popcorn." But he goes, "Bro, I'm going to drive to the gym at 1 a.m. It's my third workout of the day. And this is what it takes to become the best."
Yeah, when nobody's watching.
When nobody's watching, bro.
The road work in the morning.
That goes out to all fighters,
Yeah.
It's so important.
The extra percentages. It's funny you say that. Like, I noticed that one of the common correlations I noticed with all champions throughout all sports is that they're always willing to learn and open ears and can learn from anybody. Where they're not like,
100%.
"Oh, I've been doing this for, who's this guy? Oh, I never heard of him. I'm not going to listen to him because I never heard. No, sorry. What, you had something to say? Oh, how can I help this?" And I noticed that across the board with all the champs. And then you say that with the boxing with Benavides too.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. And that's probably why he is where he's at.
Yeah, man. You gotta be a servant to the sport first. You have to be a student, and you have to continue to keep learning, because there's always somebody out there that knows more. And if you keep that in the back of your mind, you're always gonna be ahead. You can't always think to yourself that, "Oh, well, I know it all." Nah, bro, you don't know it all. Look what happened to Tyson back in the day. Tyson is Tyson. And the thing is, you can never stop learning from this craft. From MMA or from boxing. It will never stop.
What they say, evolve or die,
Exactly.
And I'm sure, and the game changes too. And I'm sure, like, the way people train also, like, what's your opinion on sparring? Because you're coming from the boxing world, right?
Yep.
And MMA, it's kind of like hit or miss. But I know boxing is primarily like, this is a trend we talk about a lot in the podcast. I know in MMA, you heard like Robbie Lawler said, "Oh, I'd stop sparring," and he started getting a lot to success.
Yep.
But in like with the boxing, what's the sparring protocol for like a professional getting ready in a boxing fight?
Look, usually it's like twice to 3 times a week, depending on camp. Pre-camp, once a week, twice a week, doing at least 6 to 8 rounds. Not hard sparring, moderate sparring, depending on your opponent, on who you think you're going to be fighting. So we look for a very similar match to that fighter. So let's say I'm fighting somebody like Crawford, for example. You're going to look for somebody that's got a very similar style to Crawford. And you're going to try and get them to be able to work with you and adapt on the same similar things and tactics that you would be ready for. This is when it's coming to bigger fights, When it comes closer to the fights, it'll be close to 3 days a week.
You gotta get that.
You gotta start pumping it up, and then as you get closer to the fight, 3-4 weeks out, you start taming it down a bit, because you don't want to get injured or any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, with the concussions and stuff like this.
Yeah. You don't want to get injured, because in this time frame, this is where injuries can actually come through, and then it becomes a problem. So it's very controlled. Everything gets very controlled, and then at some points you're gonna be thrown in with guys that you're gonna have a little bit of a dogfight, and it will go little ape shit in there. Yeah. But it's part of the game. You have to learn. You have to go up against better sparring partners, good guys. So it builds you up to become better. Even growing up as, an amateur kid and in the boxing game for quite some time, I was thrown in with, guys that were world champions, guys that were like, I was like 16, 15, sparring with guys that were 25, 26, 27. And they would go hard on me, bro. But it made me better. It made me, when I went up against guys that were my age or my weight, flog them out, it's part of the game.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, you feel like it's easy, but for sure, because if you're gonna fight, you need to do some fights and get in there and get hit and get comfortable being uncomfortable. You say
exactly.
Right?
Look, hitting the mitts and hitting the bags is great and everything. It's part of training, but at the same time, it's not the same as sparring.
No way.
Because sparring, you're getting different styles. Styles makes fights. So when you adapt to different styles, like the Russian style, like the European style, the Ukrainian style, then we'll go to Mexico and we'll try the Mexican styles, and then we'll try. There's so many different styles that in order to be great, you have to be able to adapt to any style, because at any given time, whoever you're going to fight, they may switch it on you. And I've seen it. And you think that they're going to be fighting one way, but then all of a sudden they'll switch to a southpaw stance and you'll be like, oh shit, I've been preparing for an orthodox stance, but now I'm fighting a southpaw. Yeah. And it's completely different. So you just don't know. You always got to be prepared and you always got to be ready.
This is a good one for up-and-coming fighters, right? Because a lot of guys, you got to, when you step in there, and also opponent can change on the fight week or something like that. So you got to be ready to fight all styles. And you don't want to get stuck on just training like, that's why in sparring, I do like, when I have a fight coming up, I'll do like a few rounds where they mimic my opponent, but at the same time, I'm trying to go with everybody, because you still want to get all those looks. You want to get that data, like just in case he does switch up on you or something like this.
No, for sure.
You can go back to that like in the memory banks in the fight,
100%.
But that could throw you off. It reminds you of Rocky too. I ain't going southpaw. Remember, he didn't want to switch.
Yeah.
Imagine you come out. That's what I'm going to do my next fight. I'm going to come out southpaw, throwing high kicks. People are like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, you got to do what works for you. It's good to change things up. Not drastically, but I think, gradually you could learn different techniques, implement different, routines and stuff into your arsenal. And I say this all the time, for a good coach to train a very good fighter, you don't need to change their style. There's no need for it. Every person has their own style, and every person walks different. We don't walk the same. But what you can do is you can add to the arsenal. You can add to the walk to build up that speed to become fast. But it really comes down to listening and obtaining information and making sure that coach that you're listening to knows what they're talking about.
That's another one that it's like somewhere you can go 3-4 years without even knowing that your coach didn't.
You don't know,
because you don't know any better yourself.
But
right?
you got to put yourself and you got to test yourself against different coaches, and you got to see what's best for you. And you'll know what's best for you because you've trialed different ones, and then you're going to see your performance in the ring or in the cage, and you're going to be like, okay, I know which one is good for me, and maybe the one that doesn't love me the way I expect him to is the one I need.
That's important right there.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not always about having that coach as your friend or your best friend or they love you. No, bro. They maybe just come in here, they train you because they want you to be the best, and they only have it for your best interest. And that's the man that you want to invest time and money into. And they'll eventually build that rapport with you over time. Outside the ring is one thing, but inside is different.
Definitely. Wow, that's good. I feel like for me, coaching, I always like to have a coach that, and everybody's different. For me, I always like a coach that I'm almost like I'm fearful of a little bit,
Yes.
I always feel better when I don't want to disappoint the guy in the corner.
Exactly.
And when I have a guy like that, I feel like that's when I fight the best.
I agree with you 100%. That factor right there is very important. If you're looking for a good coach, you got to look for these very important attributes in somebody. You got to look for, do they have the knowledge to be able to teach you, to take you to that level. And maybe they only last for a certain period of time. And then eventually you might get to a stage where it's like, man, that coach is not good for me moving forward. And I'll keep him, but it's no good for me. I need somebody even better, because now you got to a point, you're on a different level. And it happens. That's growth, But it's all part of, it's part of the process. It's part of becoming the best version you can be. And it's also part of building the team that you need to build in order to get to where you need to get to. It's part of life,
I feel like boxing has been doing that for a while. I feel like boxers will have like their one coach or like their one group of guys, and then the coach will kind of bring them around, and take care of them. Whereas MMA, we had like, for a long time, we had like the super camps. So you go like American Top Team or
That's
like
right.
Jackson's Wigglejohn. But with those, I noticed, because I worked in a big gym too, in Tiger Muay Thai. But I did notice that a lot of guys get lost in the crosshairs there, because you have like the 5 main guys that are making all the big shows. So all the coaches kind of put their attention towards them. And then, but I noticed that like you have like all these killers sparring with each other, and it's good. But then sometimes you're not really getting the best work because you're kind of like just not trying to lose. You know what I mean? So like in your ego, like we were talking about before, like the ego kicks in and stuff like this, where I think MMA is starting to do that now. Where, like, they're starting to like take care of their fighters and kind of like build a team around the fighter, and then like what the fighter needs is the most important. As to where a fighter would just go to like a spot and then just have like, you know what I mean? And then he then kind of become like a little bit cookie cutter.
Yes,
like,
yes, I agree.
They're all doing the same thing because they're like, oh, this guy's from there, he's gonna be like that, and then it get a little bit easier to fight, you know?
No, for sure.
But also, I want to ask you. So, how did your passion for boxing come about?
So, bro, like, I started at the age of 12, and I was originally a tennis player. So I used to play tennis at actually a high level as a kid, and I got into boxing because of my footwork. And there was a police academy up the road from where I used to live, and upstairs it was called Zoo's Academy. So Costa Zoo had his own academy.
Oh, okay.
Back in Sydney, Australia, and went up there one day. My father spoke to him. I wanted to improve my footwork on the tennis court, and they threw me into boxing. Within 2 months of training in boxing, they threw me into the Golden Gloves, and I had a thing for it. Like, it was challenging to me. I come from a family of no brothers, no sisters, just my mother and father, and so I was always very alone. But I found boxing to become like my best friend, you know, and it was very soothing for me because it was my outlook apart from not doing well in school, you know, being alone a lot of the time. And so when they threw me into the Golden Gloves, I had a 3-day competition. I beat all the kids in my division. These kids have had probably 10 to 20 fights already. And I beat them all, and I got the gold medal for the Golden Gloves in Australia. And that's where it all started. And I just went boom, 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 boom. And so I left tennis and I stuck to boxing. And boxing kept me on track for quite some time. And it's a true blessing that I was able to travel the world, spend some time with amazing fighters, amazing coaches, and I built up so much information from so many different countries and different styles that I was able today to be able to teach it when I opened up Boxer. And I just built great relationships, bro, you know, so it's like, in the end of the day, you know, I went off track a little bit when I finished amateur boxing. I think it was around 21. Yeah, it was around 2021. And I sort of fell off a little bit, got mixed in with the wrong people, wrong crowd, got involved in the wrong things. And then, you know, life brought me to Miami and things changed, you know, and boxing really... I left boxing, but boxing didn't leave me.
It stayed inside.
It stayed with me, bro. Anywhere I saw a ring or a boxing bag, I had to be close to it. And then it came to a point where, you know, my back was put up against the wall and I was forced to teach. And so I thought, instead of being a fighter, let's be a teacher. I started teaching the craft, and here we are today.
So it all started from there.
It all started from there.
Wow. And you know what's crazy? Hey, tennis is like a fight. I'm just getting into
Yeah.
it. I'm just learning about tennis. I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
I'm following it. I'm watching it. My mom plays tennis, but I want to start learning because I didn't know that there's no tie in tennis. They play to the death.
Yeah.
They play to the end.
Yeah.
And it's one-on-one, which is dope. It's hardcore, bro.
It's very mental.
Oh my gosh.
And the precision and the timing and the footwork and it's a well-respected sport, bro, you know? And, you know, I guess anyone that gets involved into some sort of sport that's individual, not a team sport, you got to put your hat off to them because it is hard. You know, as an athlete doing it alone, whether it's in the cage, in the ring, on a tennis court, it's very, you know, people don't realize how much, you know, inner motivation you have to create for yourself in order to get out there and do it. Being in a team is phenomenal, but going in there by yourself is a whole different animal to a team sport.
Because it's on you.
It's on you, bro. Everything falls on you. Your team's depending on you. It's not like you have, you know, you got one of your wingers or you got your, you know, your front line next to you backing you up inside the ring. Nah. Once you're in that ring or once you're in that cage, it's done. Once you're on that tennis court, it's done. You're all in now.
Yeah.
You can't back off. And that's in life too. And that's in business. And if you treat it like that and you compliment it like that, then you're going to get really far in life. You know, that's just how it is. And I think also another reason why boxing has kept me where I am today, and I still train on a daily basis here and there to keep myself fit and motivated, and humbles me. But what it does is it reminds me of the hard work and dedication I put into work. And so I apply that with what I do here inside my business.
the same principles you learn from martial arts, from boxing,
Same thing.
like, you can apply it to anything. That's the thing
1000%.
this is why so many like white collar guys love training and fighting
Yeah.
right now, because, and I noticed one thing when I have like clients and they have like, they're very like successful, like
Yeah.
they're hard workers and whatever their craft there is, I can see, I'm like, oh, now I know why you're amazing at what you do in your other job.
Yeah.
Because you probably do, and they're workaholics, you know, they put it in when they're here at the gym and they love to learn, and they're not, like we were talking about before, they're not afraid to because I think that's what it is with boxing and martial arts. It's like, you got to eat humble pie in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So like some of these guys, they be like lawyer executive with 100 employees, but then they come here and you're like, you know, and then you got to correct them on the jab, and they kind of like, but the winners, you could see how they love it, and it kind of exceeds, it goes through that.
No,
Transcends.
for sure, and it's very therapeutic, bro. Because a lot of these corporate guys are challenged on a daily basis. So when they're put into something that's completely different, it's challenging their mind in a different aspect. So it's programming differently. But eventually, you know what I realized? The more you stick to it and you stay consistent with it, whatever you do outside of what we do in the gym, you could create whatever you want, because you already got embedded in your mind the disciplinary attitude. You have that in you now. It's up to you how you're going to utilize it and enforce it. That's how I sort of see it. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to do what we do today in here.
Yeah, when you're learning how to fight, right? You're just trying to learn how to punch properly, throw the jab, and then next thing you know, after 3 months, you're sparring, you're doing rounds, you're like, you don't even. But it's the step by step, and I'm sure when you open a business, you got to understand that, like, it's a vision. You have to have the vision, but you got to be focused on the little things at first to get there, right?
1000%, man. You got to have the vision, and I'm gonna go back to teamwork. It comes back to teamwork, because without my team, I wouldn't be able to do the things I could do. I couldn't apply the vision and implement it the way it is today. Without my business partner, Cami, I wouldn't even be here too. So it's like there's a lot of factors that contribute to the fact of why this is such a successful facility, a successful brand, having amazing coaches like yourself. It makes a huge impact, and this goes out to anybody that's trying to build something or create something, or whether you're a fighter building your team. It's so imperative to watch the people that you're bringing on board and selecting the right ones that are going to help the process. Without that, you can't get there. Without that, you can't get water in your corner and keep going. It's so imperative, so yeah, just a few things.
Yeah, no, it's like that. Like there was, what's that quote they were saying? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? Go
Exactly.
With a team.
Yeah.
So tell me about like building a team. This is going to be huge for anything, I'm
Yep.
sure. For like, so I'm sure that's what you recommend. Like, you got an amazing team here at Boxer. When did the vision? Did you always have the vision for the, like, with everything we got here? What did it start with, like the boxing, and then or do you kind of know you want to make like this, like?
So man, like I said, it was me being forced and putting it up against a wall. Not knowing what to do. It was originally, I got stuck. I came out here, COVID hit, and then was trying to figure out what to do. I was meant to get back in the ring and make a comeback, but then when COVID hit, nobody could fight. Everything was shut down. From there, it went on to, well, you know what? Because I love the sport so much, why not teach it? So decided to teach people how to box, teach them the real core fundamentals. I did not know how to teach, never in my life, but I decided to take a risk and a chance. I didn't charge anyone. I did it for free, only because of the passion that I had for it. And then people started to tip me, and so they were like, how much can I tip you? And I was like, bro, you tip me whatever you think my value's worth. When you start doing stuff like that, you start to get recognized for the work what you've acquired. I've acquired so much knowledge after 18 to 20 years of boxing, that a lot of money went into it, a lot of time and a lot of energy. But when you do it out of love, passion, and you really want to teach people for the right purposes, you don't think about the money. Your book starts to get written. Your picture starts to get drawn out. This was not a plan. I never planned for any of this. It's not like I dreamed and I want the biggest gym in the world. None of this was like that. Yeah, I would have loved to have a gym, but I never had it concrete. But because I was put in a position to do something I love and come back a little bit, humble myself as a man, and this is something that, I do talk about a lot. You got to recognize what your wrongs are, face yourself in the mirror, and make the changes that are necessary as a man, which I did. You know, I realized that I had to make a lot of changes. I had to stop being, you know, in my own world, being egotistic in the gym, not talking to people. I couldn't do this. I couldn't sit on a podcast and do this. Wow. You know, I thought that the world owed me something. You know, my mind was in a whole different place. But when that day clicked, and, you know, Camilla, my business partner, you know, she was the one that gave me that extra push and said, you got to do this. It opened a light at the end of the tunnel for me. And that's where it started. It started out of my apartment, right up the road at Filing Station.
Really?
Yeah, and I started training people out of the parking lot in COVID, and people could hear mitts outside, you know, and people still ask you, yo, who's this guy? Who's this Australian guy? And then all of a sudden, you know, went from that to doing classes at another gym. And I did classes there, and then I turned my apartment into a boxing studio. So I put a ring into the living area, I put bags upstairs. Cammy created the logo. The boxer name is actually, you know, from when I was back in Australia as a fighter. Everyone in school, everyone used to call me Boxer. So that's where the name comes from. And the actual logo itself that you see and the fine print, that's a shout out to Cammy. She was the one that sat there with me and came up with that to keep it clean cut. And then from there onwards, bro, like, I never stopped up to today. We keep going. I keep teaching the fundamentals. We keep, you know, giving love and passion towards what we know. And we're not holding anything back. We're letting it out. We're an open book to the people. And when you do that, at least there's transparency between you and the people, you know? And there's nothing to hide. Why not give and share the knowledge that you've learned and acquired to the right people? I acquired a lot of really good relationships from doing that, and you know, treating everything like this. I acquired some of the most powerful clients at the very beginning, and today they're some of my closest, you know, people that I call. I wouldn't even say friends. I would say like brothers, you know. And we could talk about anything. I could make a call to them. One of them is big shout out to Steve Stout, owner of United Masters. You know, my brother DJ Swearingher. Plays for the NFL. Yeah. You know, I acquired a good amount of good people around me that believed in me and believed in everything that we were doing. And it led to opening up another little facility, which was 3,500 square feet. And that was where MMA Masters used to be.
Okay, the one in downtown, or the
That's
one
correct.
Yeah.
Right there, that's where Boxer was.
Oh,
for 8 months. And we got 400 members in 8 months just off classes. You know, and that was just being focused. I was doing classes every single day, bro. And doing one-on-ones and then going back up to the apartment, doing what I did. We were doing long days, long hours. And it came a time where I had to recruit the best coaches. And this is where Jason comes in. And I called Jason. And Jason had an opportunity to come here. So I told him, bro, I'm going to change your life. And he came over. And I said to him, bro, check this out. And I showed him what I was doing. I showed him the vision. I showed him and made him feel what Boxer was all about. And he says, man, I got to go home and I got to see. 5 days later, he rings me up and he goes, bro, I'm moving to Miami. I'm going to work with you, bro. And today, he's training David Benavides. He's training Steve Stout, owner of United Masters. He trains some of, you know, the top entrepreneurs in the city. He's got a beautiful apartment. His whole life changed. And that's what it's about, bro. You know, like when you build something and people that you could bring in can flourish through it and be part of something that's greater than what you even expected, that makes you feel even better. And that makes me very content today. Like, even sitting here with you, bro, like, I'm very grateful and honored to have you here and doing this with me, you know? So sure. It's about making that impact with people. That's what it's all about. That's the key. And even as a fighter, getting to the top, yeah, you could become the best in the world and you could become a world champion. But for what? For your own gain? Or to represent the people and show it's really possible, that anything is possible. And to let the young know, hey, I look up to this guy. I want to be like this guy. That's what it's about. It's not about the belts, bro. You know? And that's the same thing in business and everything else that we do today. If you treat it like that.
The process.
The process.
You gotta enjoy the beauty's in the struggle, right? Like they say, a great
The
quote.
beauty's in the journey.
The journey.
Not the destination.
Bro, because sometimes
Yeah.
you worry about the destination and you realize
Every-
there should never be a
Bro.
destination. We should always want to go more.
I hear it
anyways.
from a lot of people, bro. The destination. I'm like, nah, man. It's all about the journey, because you're gonna look back and go, you know what, man? I really put in those hours. And when you reach the destination, when you reach it, you're gonna look back and go, yeah, no one can say shit.
You put the work in.
Put the work in. My boy Daniel knows.
Man, Daniel's out here grinding. So this, you know what's amazing about COVID? God forbid, I know like a lot of people's lives got upturned and stuff like this, but you know what I did notice, man? Like the real winners, like the go-getters,
It came out.
it came out, bro.
Yeah, bro.
You put them up against the wall, you put the real soldiers against the wall, and they made it better. And look at this now, like so from getting ready for a boxing fight to now having one of the biggest premier gyms in the world right now, man. Like I've been all over, you know, like
Thank you,
Asia,
bro.
Thailand, Singapore,
you.
and I'm telling you, man, the energy here is unmatched. You know, like we get the champs coming in here now all the time. Big Baby Miller, I didn't even know he could do kickboxing. You saw him throwing kicks.
Bro, I saw that.
What?
Yeah.
We gotta get him upstairs in the MMA, bro. We're gonna have our first MMA heavyweight champion, though.
Bro, it's so. You know what I found with the business that, you know, myself and Cammy were able to create is, when you walk in these doors, you can be who you want to be. It's freedom. You don't need to look at somebody next to you and worry about what they think about you. You don't have to worry about if you will either fit in or you don't. That's why our classes here is for everyone.
Yeah.
Boxers that are on a high level come in here, use the ring, and they're okay with the rest of the people watching and being part of it.
Yeah, they don't mind. The boxers don't mind when the guys watch and stuff.
They
like
actually
this, you know?
don't. They don't. I've had Floyd in here many times. He calls me. He's like, "Yo, I want to use it." There was sparring here. When he was sparring here, the whole gym stopped. Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
There's my boy Steve Stout walking in the building right now. You know, so it's like when you really look at the energy and you look at the demographic in this place, this is freedom, bro. You know, coming from Australia and being out here, this is freedom. This is the land of the free, bro. Like straight up.
Hey, you're a patriot. You love America.
Yeah,
I love
yeah, bro.
Let's
Like
go.
I could not do this back in Australia, bro.
No.
I couldn't do this anywhere else. I could do it here, but God placed me here, and it was up to me to be able to make a choice. It's all about choice, man. You know, and you got to be willing to pull the trigger and do it right. But you got to do it yourself deep down inside and make sure you make those necessary changes in order to pull the trigger and make it happen. That's what it takes.
When the CrossFit gym, the area there was no barbershop or anything there before.
No,
right?
no. So as we kept building and as I kept, you know, implementing things, I just kept getting more and more creative. How would I want a perfect sanctuary here? You know, and I'm very observative in my business. You know, I love being here with the people on a daily basis. I have a routine. I have to be here. I have to observe. I got to see what more we could do and how we can implement more. Whatever comes in, I throw it back into the business every single time. The reason for that is because it brings more value to the people, and it creates more excitement, and it entertains people more. People want entertainment all the time, which means you got to keep them going. Otherwise, people start to get stuck and they get bored. This is not a place of boredom. So through this process, there was a CrossFit gym across the road. He'd been there for years, a long, long time. So I went over one day and I approached the owner, and he's a nice guy. And I said to him, "Look, man, have you ever thought about, you know, selling the business?" And he said to me, yeah. And I was like, "Look, I'll make you an offer right now. I'll write you a check. And, you know, I'd love to extend Boxer over here as well and tap into a different market." At that time, I realized that many markets could be tapped into the one space. And this is where it was like boxing started off, then MMA kicked, and then bodybuilding kicked, and then CrossFit kicked. Now let's add some lifestyle into it as well. Barbershop. What do men need? Haircuts. This is part of Miami. So I'm looking at Miami. I'm looking at the demographic. I'm looking at what sparks. All right, we got to put a good system in here too, bro. You got to make it feel like you in a club sort of thing. At the same time, you know, you need to also have a bar for drinks and smoothies and stuff like that. All right, and then your recovery section. So it wasn't planned. It was all through the process. You know, sometimes you don't know. But you just got to stay disciplined and you got to stay consistent. And this is one thing I always bring up. Consistency is key to unlocking a door of unimaginary things that you never even expected. So you opening a door, you don't know what's behind the door. But you got to be consistent so you can get the right key to open it.
Yeah. And you got to be able to go through it, right?
You got to walk through it. And you got to be ready.
Yeah.
And if you've been consistent through the process, you'll be ready for whatever's there. And you may be really happy with what you're going to find, you know? So
it's like I don't know if you're big on like manifestation and like energy and stuff like this. Like I'm like big on that, or I've been big on it recently. Like, and like the energy you put out is the energy you get back.
1,000%.
And I remember somebody was saying, he's like, you know, you have to have a vision and then you have to start working towards it, but you can't worry about how you're going to get there or what's going to happen, but you got to do it. Yeah. And then within do it, like God's going to put the pieces in place that you kind of need to see as you walk through those doors.
1,000%, bro.
But it doesn't happen on the couch thinking about it or talking about it, right? It's actually putting in the work and doing it. Right?
Yeah.
Which is like, it's a whole nother story, you know?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Oh, man. So you've been in Miami, what, about like 5-6 years now?
5-6 years now, yeah.
I think it's the best city in the world, hands down,
bro,
you know?
Hands down the best city in the world. I don't care what anyone says. You could say Dubai, you could say any of these countries, but Miami is that city, bro.
Miami's the one. It's the happenings hot spot right now, and you always got the big names coming through here.
Yeah, bro.
I feel like that's one of the genius things that you've really been able to do is like tap into the social media and like the influencer game here with the martial arts, and then kind of make a home for them where, yeah, you can see whoever coming through here and nobody's gonna bother them. Like you said, like they're just like at a regular gym at home, like any other place, you know?
Yeah, man. Like I said, you know, building up those key relationships is imperative. I got a good relationship with Tim Simpson.
Oh yeah, it's my boy. Yeah, Tim, that's the one. That's how I met you for the first time.
From Australia, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because he originally came out here. He brought Izzy. Izzy's from New Zealand, and I'm actually my mum's from New Zealand. Okay. So we kicked it off really well, and then Aussies know Aussies, so it ends up, you know, they found out I own this gym. So we created a great relationship, and so now every time, you know, anyone that comes from that side out here to Miami, they're always going to come here because we want them to be here, you know. We want them to have a home out here, give them the experience that they deserve, and we take care of our people with pride, you know. We really love what we do on a daily basis, and that's why teamwork makes the dream work. Everyone covers a certain position to make sure that the overall energy is complete. It's not just about training, it's about your experience. Every person, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a world champion, whether you're a civilian, whether you're a police officer, it doesn't matter who it is, everyone will have that experience in here. And that's why they always come back. Twice last week before his fight, Paige Venom.
Yes.
Second time around coming through. Bro, we've become really close now, and he loves this gym. And the day before the fight, we did the reaction video for the Joshua fight in here.
That was so good. That was in here. That was nice.
And we sat in here, David Benavides, myself, and Venom. Bro, you know, like, that doesn't happen on an every day. But why? That's because of the energy in the relationship. You know?
Yeah.
Wonder Boy, is it Wonder Boy?
Yeah, Wonder Boy comes through here, right?
Yeah, Wonder Boy comes through here. He loves the spot. So we've attracted a lot of people from the MMA and the boxing, but it's also props to you guys too, bro, because without you guys and your programs and, you know, the feedback that's coming from members and the videos that we've been all putting out, it's a real display of what you guys know in the MMA world and what you're willing to give. And then on top of that, you're in this environment. So what do you get?
Yeah, get the best of the best.
Get the best of the best, bro.
The best of the best. In the 305, hands down. Mateo, I don't want to take too much of your time. This has been a great chat, man. All right, so we always close it out with one of these. So we have you got a lot of staff members. You got a lot of guys that you're training. Yeah. What advice would you give for any upcoming boxers that want to take it to the next level and want to and go about it and fight and maybe go, like, maybe they're amateur right now or they're just starting off and they want to go all the way? What advice would you give them to take with them?
The best advice I would say is, you know, like we talked about the coach aspect. Find the right coach that's going to give you what you need, not what you want. You know, at the same time, if you are pro, don't just sign any contract. Spend a little bit of money on a lawyer to look over the contract. Get the right manager in place that's going to take care of those things so you can focus on the training too. You need to find a good manager. A lot of fighters these days don't have managers or they don't have a good manager. Having a good manager is going to help you get money outside the ring so you don't have to work at a club and then go to the gym. you can start setting your life up. You can get sponsorships. That manager will help set things up for you on the back end of things. Then there's a relationship and clarity, and you start building a team. And then you got to find the right place where you're going to be consistent with, train with, and, start preparing yourself for the long term, not the short term. Utilize and build your relationships in order to get with the right promotional company that's going to get you to where you need to get to. If these things are all aligned, then you shouldn't lose. It's up to you in the end of the day. And don't just come to train to train. Do it because you love it, and do it because you know that there's a bigger purpose behind it later down the track. It's not just for the belts. If you accomplish all those things, man, sky's the limit. You done.
Sky's the limit. Mateo,
brother,
thank you so much for the
I
time,
appreciate
my
you,
brother.
bro.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
We appreciate having you here, bro, at Boxer. We truly blessed to have good, hardworking, honest people like yourself, and I'm very grateful for you having me on today. I don't get on too many podcasts, but bro, no, I'm more than happy being on here. And if anyone's watching this right now, you gotta make sure you support this man right here, the Honey Badger. Pull up to the Boxer headquarters, get training in with him. This was dope, bro.
This was a great. I had a really great time, man. That was awesome. Got to know my boss a little more, the big boss. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the time. All right, if the people want to find you, if they want to train, if they want to get you on social medias, where can the people find you, Mateo?
You can find us at Boxer Gym on IG. You could find my personal account. It's Mateo, Mateo, Boxer, Boxr. You can also go to our website. You see what's going on. Or if you really want to, just pull up to the Boxer headquarters. My team, my staff will be able to take care of you, take you on a full tour experience. And you got to pull up to this guy's classes and be part of the team on the MMA side. The MMA section upstairs is lit. So you got to pull up.
We're growing. Ladies and gentlemen, Honey Badger Hour Podcast. That's a wrap. We are out.